Today I'm going to talk a little bit more about Royal Caribbean's The Key program. So if you've sailed on Royal Caribbean or you're planning to sail on Royal Caribbean, you may have come across The Key and wondered, is this worth it? What is it? What do I get with The Key? Why is there an extra cost? Should I splurge? Should I not? I'm going to talk a little bit more about my experience using The Key on our most recent sailing on Utopia of the Seas this past month. I actually learned a lot about the program, having never used it before, and now I have some very strong opinions about whether or not it is worth it for you on your next cruise on Royal Caribbean. All right, let's talk about The Key. So The Key is a added program that you can add as a VIP program to your Royal Caribbean cruise. Now, the cost of The Key is going to vary depending on a lot of different factors. Your sailing, how long your sailing is, and when you choose to purchase The Key, you can find some different discounts. We actually were able to purchase The Key about 60 days before sailing through the app, and it was almost 30% off savings at the time. So I would say if you're looking into The Key, definitely keep an eye on the app and take a look at the different promotions that Royal Caribbean runs throughout the year. You'll definitely be able to find it at a pretty good cost, and it can help you kind of determine whether or not it's worth it for you. So first and foremost, The Key is what they consider a VIP add-on to your cruise. Now, what makes it VIP is that you get some very specific special perks that can go a long way in making your embarkation day a little smoother. It can be a lot easier for you when you're trying to reserve great seating and get good spots for certain shows in the evenings. So I want to talk about what is covered with The Key, what can you expect to get, and then we'll talk a little bit more about whether or not it's worth it. All right, first and foremost, embarkation day can be a little chaotic, right? You're getting to the port from wherever you're staying the night before. You've got the terminal, everyone's got their luggage. Now, the one thing with The Key that I found to be really helpful is that you're able to kind of get through pretty quickly. It took us, I would say, 6 minutes from the time that we arrived at the terminal to be able to walk on board the ship. So for me, that was a nice kind of fast-tracked experience getting through the terminal with The Key. It will actually print out, it'll be on your app, it'll be on your SeaPass, and then when you get your SeaPass card on board, it will also have a little key symbol on there, so it will indicate that you are a member of The Key for this sailing. When we arrived on board, one of the first things that you get with The Key is you actually get a private lunch. There is a lunch set up on one of the decks of the main dining room with a special menu that is actually food from the Chops Grill. So if you're familiar with some of the specialty dining on Royal Caribbean, there are some nice higher end food options that you can add on. And this is actually a complimentary lunch that is for Key members. One of the things that makes this really appealing is that you get to get on board quickly. You can sit down and have a really nice relaxed lunch, versus going to the Windjammer where pretty much all of the other thousands of people are going to try to get that buffet free meal started, since as soon as you're on board, all of your things are included. So what I really enjoyed as our group of 4, we were able to go right to the dining room, have a nice seated meal. I had, there's some great steak that some of the members of our group had. I had a really nice fish. It was just a great way to kind of start in a more low-key, quiet, calm environment while everyone else is getting on board and kind of sourcing through all of the different locations on ship. So for me, the welcome lunch was a great perk. We really enjoyed it. Now, fast forward to the end of your cruise, you also get a departure breakfast in the main dining room that you can go and enjoy on your last day. So before you have to disembark and head home, back to reality, we were able to actually go back to the main dining room and have an amazing plated breakfast, picking off the menu, very much all of your standard breakfast fare. But again, the Windjammer and other areas can be super crowded on the morning of debarkation, just as people are kind of getting ready to leave and moving quickly. And so we were able to avoid all of those crowds over in the Windjammer and have a nice breakfast before we left the ship. So those two things are kind of a nice little VIP on the first day and the last day experience that gets you away from the crowds and a dedicated, peaceful place to have a meal. All right, one of the reasons that I actually wanted to do The Key was not only for these special moments, getting on board, getting off board, but also because I am really interested in seeing great shows and entertainment when I am sailing. And so for me on Utopia, we knew we wanted to watch the Aqua 80 show, which is this massive Cirque du Soleil, water-inspired show that happens on the back of the ship a couple nights during sailing. And with The Key, you actually get reserved seating. So when you want to go to a show on Royal Caribbean, you're typically going to make a reservation for it in your app so that you can say, okay, Tuesday night, we're planning on going to the 8:30 show. but it doesn't mean that you're guaranteed a great seat. It just means that you have a spot to go. You can walk up about 20 to 30 minutes before and get a seat. When you have the key, there's actually dedicated seating areas that are roped off, think VIP, and those are open to anyone with the key. So we were able to walk up about 20 minutes before the Aqua 80 show and get prime seating right in the middle, beautiful view of the show, and just be able to sit in those seats that are roped off from anyone else. Now, something to note when you are planning on going to the shows and using some of that reserve seating for the key members is that you still want to show up early to get your seats. They will open those reserve seating sections about 10 minutes prior to a show for the general public or the general people to come in and fill in those seats. So if you really do want to maximize the key and get those great seats, still plan to arrive 15, 20, 25 minutes before the show so you can guarantee those spots that you want. They will open it up to everyone, so you can't just rush in about 5 minutes before the show and think that you're going to have that dedicated seating. It may not be available by then, and it could be standing room only, or they could be just, full depending on the show that you want to see. So keep in mind, reservations are great, that reserve seating is great, but still you want to plan to get there a little bit early. All right, so for the shows, that was another thing. Another thing with the key is we were able to get Voom internet service for at least one device. So we were able to get that for each of us in the cabin. We sailed without our family, without our kids this time. So we knew that we needed to have connection. We needed to have all of that hooked up. So for us, once we added the cost of separately booking the Voom internet package, doing some of the other things, we kind of felt like the overall package with the key, including the internet, was worth it for us. All right, a couple other things that you'll want to know. You can also get special access to onboard activities. So one of the things that is really special about Royal Caribbean Cruise is there's tons to do on board. But that also means there can be a lot of lines and people waiting to do some of those activities. So the Flow Rider is a really good example of a popular activity to go learn how to basically surf on the back of a ship. You can get early access and early kind of priority opportunities to go into line and to learn how to do that. And some of the other activities that are on board will be accessible for key members as well. So if you want to really try some of those new and special onboard activities, the key can help you get into lines and into opportunities to kind of do those and experience those before everybody else gets to. So again, just kind of puts you to the front of the line. Really think of it as a VIP experience. It's what it was like for us while we were sailing. So all in for us, because we wanted to avoid some of the crowds where it's easy to be crowded, thinking about embarkation day, thinking about the Windjammer and those breakfast and those lunch times during those first couple days, VIP seating for the shows. Those are all things that we didn't want to deal with crowds for, and we didn't want to have to kind of worry about. So for me, I think the key was absolutely worth it. I saw a lot of families also using the key with young ones, and I thought that was probably a pretty smart move. When you think about kids and wanting to avoid the crowds, maybe in the morning, on that last morning, being able to sit down together as a family and have a meal is actually kind of a nice treat. So I did notice that there were quite a few families with young children who were taking advantage of the key. And again, depending on when you go and you shop for it on your app, keep in mind, there's a lot of things that you can add on to your trips with Royal Caribbean. I think one of the things we hear from a lot of people is, there's so many things I can add on. What do I need? What do I not need? My best advice is to kind of just do a little bit of research, watch some videos, hear from other people who've actually used these tools and these different options, and help decide if it's right for you. I think that we would definitely do the key again. It was, for us, great to get on and off the ship easier, faster, and with less crowds. And we really enjoyed the experience top to bottom. So let me know in the comments if you've ever used the key. What were your thoughts on it? Is it something you would do again, or is it a skip for you? And thanks again for watching.